how this shot will work out. Good. Hey, I'll play. Ooh, not what did you supposed to do? Hey!
When Alberto visited me in November for the first recording session in which he recorded Schubert's Wanderer Fantasy you just heard, we planned to go out for a walk to get some fresh air and link the pleasant to the useful by recording a short conversation in which he would give some background information on himself as a pianist. As you will hear in a second, this conversation soon touched upon a very serious topic. Alberto will share in great detail how he struggled more and more with fitting into the established musical culture of today and how he constantly was forced to stay within that prefixed box that he was not supposed to challenge, let alone question. This culminated to a moment where he had enough of never being allowed to experiment with his musical ideas and just played as he felt during one of the prestigious concerts the school organized. He played Schubert's A major sonata in a tempo that he felt was right for the piece, and as he would learn much later when paging through the unique edition made by August Sturm, a tempo that doubtlessly was close to the original Schubert had in mind. Colburn School of Music had and still has the habit of live streaming all their school concerts on YouTube, and though the public was transfixed, responded extremely enthusiastic on Alberto's rendition of this unbelievable work, not long after the performance, the school took the video down from YouTube. It might seem like a minor thing, but in principle it is censorship in the purest and perhaps also most dangerous sense. It is not a political idea that's being suppressed. It is not even an attempt to challenge the school system or the teacher's legacy, but it was a school concert in which a young artist tried to learn how to fly independently. I will come back to this in a separate segment, since this very well can serve as an example of what is going on and perhaps going wrong in the established music culture of today. It takes courage to unchain you from that enormous group pressure that weighs on the shoulder of anyone playing standard repertoire. It perhaps even takes another generation. Enjoy Alberto's story and our incredible dog Sibo as well.
So here we are. I like to sit here, this is very quiet, and we've just, how far from my house? 1 kilometer, not even.
Yeah, probably 1 kilometer. Very close by, yeah.
And it's a nice thing of living here, it's not in the city, we have a lot of people around you, it's just you can be very alone. And this is not our property, by the way, but it's just a little house here in the middle of the forest. I've never seen someone here, and this little bench is the only thing we have to keep an eye on Sibo. Let me call him. Sibo! Sibo!
We are illegally borrowing this.
There he is.
This bench.
Good boy.
Here.
So now sitting here with you is like a kind of new thing to me. You reached out to me how long ago? 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, I think it was in early July, something like that, in the summer.
Yeah, sure. And then you came in September?
Yeah, end of September for the first time, and this the second time that I come here to record and
I was very happy, of course, we are creating this platform and bringing people on board, and you immediately say yes, so 100%
in.
But I would like to know, and maybe the viewers would like to understand also, you studied in Italy, in Berlin, and Los Angeles. You were basically prepared since you were 6 years old, entering this mainstream piano, even competitions. And if people go on your YouTube channel, we can maybe have some excerpts of recordings you made of Prokofiev or Rahman, really difficult pieces.
There's some stuff, definitely.
You have the technique, in the single beat world.
Yeah.
Of pseudo
almost single beat, almost.
And so
not yet at Czerny's level. Yeah.
No. You still need to practice.
Yeah,
maybe
a little bit more. Yeah.
The Viennese pianos will save you. But I wonder, what made you think about no, this is the way I will go?
Well, where should I start from? There are many aspects of that. The first thing that I thought, even when I was way younger and back in my conservatory, is that like, why would composer write something that is so difficult to play when most of times they had to perform their own works? So like. And my first thought was, did they have like this advance of this technique that they apparently could play with no problem these works, and that today we struggle so much to.
So there was a musicology aspect behind this thought, like you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I at the time I had not read anything about that, but it was intuitive. It was based on intuition.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you go to conservatory, you study in Los Angeles and California, like a very important name as pianist. I mean, a great player. And there must have been like a moment where you presented these doubts to him.
Well, that was kind of
You remember that moment, so.
Yeah,
I remember that from my time, so please share your story here.
Yeah, so in general, I always found myself a little uncomfortable with the speed that I was asked to play at.
I'm looking for my dog, but please continue.
Yeah.
Sivo?
And, I always felt that this speed, these speeds that I was used and asked to play, I mean, I was okay technically. I could play all of that, but I was always looking into the music and notation, and when I was practicing slower to learn these pieces, I was able to notice all these musical details that when you speed up, you lose them. And that was the second question that I asked myself, which was like, why would you have so many details in the music and then lose all of them when you play this fast? Why would you lose such a beauty that you find in the music?
It's interesting because it reminds me a lot of my own story, like in Amsterdam. Of course, I was in the organ class where I was protected from all of that, and I remember still developing the same ideas, no background, no theoretical background, but going to my teacher and say, what about this? And then, I mean, I shared a story on my channel. What is your story then?
Well, I saw that video almost 1 year ago, and I felt immediately I could relate to that immediately, because it was like, if I could describe my relationship, especially in the last 2 years with my teacher, it was exactly the same. Me trying to experiment with a new tempi that were, of course, distant from mainstream performance, and at the same time struggling so much at the lesson because I was prevented to play with on those speeds that were considerably slower than what we do today. but the problem was always my teacher appreciated what I was doing, but asked me that not to do that because the only reason was, the only motivation is that that's not how you play it. But there was no background source behind that request, you know.
Did he ask you not to play it just publicly? Because I can imagine you are in a conservatory, there are certain requirements, you have to be able to play certain speeds because that's what everybody does.
No,
or was he not fine with you playing like that?
Well, the problem was like he knew that I was not interested already at that time in playing in competitions or playing in concerts, and I didn't really care about being liked from audience and being popular or these kind of things. I was more of a student who was researching, and trying to figure out things, and so he knew that. So he knew that also with me there was the possibility to experiment also for him as a teacher, and to come to new solutions. But and he actually liked sometimes. I mean, I can recall working on him in my last year on a Schubert sonata and playing that, and
that's the one we're going to record tonight.
That's the one that we are going to record tonight, and I recall that I was trying to get very close to the whole V speed, even if I didn't have any metro numbers. But of course I tried to reconstructing from Beethoven sonatas, which are of course the same period, Chopin etudes that have been composed a few years later. So there was, or Schumann pieces. So there was a lot of material that I could work on. So I got, I think, pretty close to those speeds, and I remember like my first lesson with on the Schubert sonata. My teacher said, I never had playing someone this slow and in such a nice way. And and it sounds beautiful, but then this is not how you are supposed to play. And you know, as a student, I was always a student who was able to think with his own brain and his own opinions. So I wanted, like, it's not only what you ask me to do, it's like you also need to give me like some kind of reasons to do that. Otherwise, I will ask you, what's the point of playing like at this speed if you lose all of these details and passages that are supposed to be playable become suddenly very difficult, and you have to practice so many hours a day to solve them, and when you go to perform that, they will never be 100% secure, you know. So all these aspects, and the fact that from this teacher and other teachers, of course, I was able to have lessons, master classes with other teachers. The fact that I presented this content and no one of them was able to give me a precise answer made me understand that maybe I was supposed to look somewhere else, this kind of knowledge,
And did you have a difficult, because I remember when I presented this information to my teacher, I ended up changing teacher. Like my teacher Jacques Van Ootmestel, who was my organ teacher, he took kind of care of me because he wanted me to like be not handled too roughly in the piano class. So I shifted to Willem Brons, who was much more open to that. How did this unfold in your case?
Well, with my teacher, definitely the relationship was not good even before that, and this didn't.
Because of this?
Well, partially.
Okay, partially. We should not go into too much personal stuff, but.
Well, but let's say that this work on didn't help to fix this relationship, and at that point I didn't care anymore, and at that point that I even decided to challenge him in a public performance. I was asked to play that piece of Schubert, one movement of the sonata. he asked me to play that because, of course, the second lesson that we worked on that piece, I was able to play in the way he wanted, and he was super happy about that. Even if to me that played in that speed meant nothing. But you know, at that point I was already very certain.
Okay.
I was 100% certain that that teacher could not didn't have the level to help me in my musical studies anymore.
Okay.
Was not sufficient anymore, and the relationship was basically ruined. And so I played in what I believe was at the time a whole beat
During your concert and
during the concert. He was not there, but he heard the performance live streaming, because the school always gives like broadcast these concerts in live streaming, and he was not there, but that was a big challenge to him, and basically my statement of total breakup with in this relationship with student teacher. But the thing is that I can recall that after that performance, many people came to me, and they were very happy of how I was able to manage this tempo, and how I was able to create a music atmosphere that was magical.
Because I can imagine not many people are so confident of know the works of Schubert so well. So
well, yeah, also like there were a few pianists in the audience. They were my colleagues, but they were pretty open to the idea, and some of them really congratulated with me, and they said there were beautiful things. Of course, the speed was unusual to them, but none of them felt like saying, "Oh, that's not how you play like that." And musicians who were in the audience and who were not pianists, because the performance was in a conservatory, so the entire school was there, and you know, some of them were like, "You create such a magical atmosphere."
Okay. Is that recording somewhere available now? Because they publish those live streams on the website?
Well, yeah, usually the school keeps those recordings on YouTube, and some of my recordings of when I play there are still there. You can find them. There's a Debussy, and I think there was also a Prokofiev until. But the Schubert performance after a few weeks was shut down from the channel.
They took it down?
Yeah.
Because of this?
Well, I can guess, because like my teacher complained about that.
Of course, you challenged him, like
I challenged him.
Let me say that way beyond what you should. What
you should do in an academic environment, of course.
He creates his school, and of course you.
Of course, and
perhaps you embarrassed him a little bit as well.
Yeah, but you know, at that point I didn't care anymore.
Yeah, you're
like
young,
it was
you can
not.
Do that.
Yeah.
Change the world, I would say.
I was not playing at an exam. I mean, at my final exam, I literally played the way he wanted, because I mean, I'm not stupid, and I know in what situations I can afford something, and I know my limits.
Exactly.
Yeah?
So, but taking down that video. Probably because of that recording, let's assume it. Was it her habit to take recordings down, or to shut all?
No.
So
most of the recordings of the school of years ago are still there, including some of mine. And
he would not like to connect his name as a teacher to this performance. That's
of course.
Which I partly can understand, but
yeah.
I mean, it's like in a kind of university environment, you're supposed to challenge your students, and you're challenging me now, like you're taking me certainly to the left. I was thinking, like, if we take this whole beat thing as a political thing, I was covering the left position, if that's a word, like, very well.
There could be more.
But you are challenging me. But I think it's like really a challenge, and it's inspirational to me, like questioning things that I thought were solved or that I couldn't solve. You say, okay, let's go through that again. So that's for me like wonderful, and I could imagine also, you challenge your teacher, but in this way, with a piece of Schubert, I mean, what's the harm in this? And it again shows like this kind of censorship, like some reactions we have on the channel, like you say, we are not declaring war to anyone.
Yeah. We are not harming anybody. Yeah, this is just music, and it's about.
It goes really far, actually. Right? That's a new kind of.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how open-minded you are and how much you are willing to experiment. Yeah.
Let's try to keep our dog alive.
Yeah.
But tell me, Alberto, so you had this moment, and at the time, had you seen some of the videos of Authentic Sound already? Were they?
Yeah. The first.
So tell me a little bit. How did you discover? Was it helpful to you to define what you were looking at?
Well, yeah, I found immediately the answer in the first video that popped up in my.
Which was that? Which one?
There was the Chopin Etude Opus 10 number 12.
The
Revolutionary Etude.
That piece, which is like challenging for people who don't know this performance. It's like it's like
and
a big show.
I remember that it was not the. It was from the title that I got triggered because I read Chopin Etude historical tempo. Yeah. And I was like, what
I'm happy you say that because I got challenged or like questioned not by a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Lives also in California, a young guy who is really wonderful. He said maybe you should change the title because it says true historical tempo.
Yeah.
Imagine I would have removed the title, you would perhaps not have clicked on it.
Yeah, no, the historical tempo was literally the trigger element. And I remember.
Come here.
Come, Sivu. And
so you clicked on that video, and
I clicked on that video exactly, and then I found out about the channel, and I remember that video, like I related immediately to the music and the way it was performed. And like I never heard the etude played in this way, and it makes so much sense. Also, if you consider notation, the way it's written, the left hand has all these accenti and like accents on every four notes, and I was very aware from before of the fact that like no one could play those because of the speed. And then I went to another video that was like Pollini, Lisitsa not good enough to
I didn't say that. Too slow.
Too slow. Too slow. Like
okay.
not fast enough. Let's clear that up. Yeah.
No, perfect. Actually, you could say it's not good enough if the standard were to be
I don't wanna be chased by Lisitsa or Pollini someday. Like.
I think Lisitsa is a wonderful person. So.
Yeah.
That's a great.
I mean, they are like amazing pianists.
Absolutely.
Like no one questions that.
Yeah.
It's just like then when you get to check the metronome numbers that Chopin left us, and we are not able, like none of us is able to play that, and we know that like the technical possibilities of pianists today are way better than 1 century ago.
Yeah.
Like so, what's wrong with that? Like what's missing, and what happened? And then I started seeing all the metronome reading videos, and it took me a while to understand what was the concept of Schlag, of tactus or unity, and what was what were the.
Just continue. I take care of my dog. Just continue.
Yeah, and what were the Schläge, and the single ticks of the metronome represented, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then that's where I found out that some pieces that I played in the past where I received some complaints that were extremely slow. You don't play like those, you don't play like that. I don't know, Schumann's Carnaval, Wallstein, and all these pieces that I personally loved, and I found out that I was not almost in a whole beat, but I was way more like close to that side rather than the single beat. Yeah. So that was something very important for me, and from there I started my research. I worked basically 1 year alone in Los Angeles because with my teacher I couldn't. There was no no possibility for me to work on this and to discuss this, because
So this idea of reconstructing, of playing that music meant actually the end of your teacher relationship. So he basically, you know, it's, I'm not getting emotional of this, but I simply, let me not say too much, but I cannot understand that as a teacher,
I've been when I don't have secrets, but I was literally I auditioned in my old conservatory in Los Angeles to have the possibility to stay there for a master, and you know, I was rejected, and I mean, I played it really well. I played it in the way my teacher wanted. Because also there I didn't challenge him at my audition exam. I played a 100 opus 111 of Beethoven, super fast tempo, and I remember he himself said that it was very heavy, but like of course there are many things that happen behind your back that you cannot control, and that's why I was forced to leave.
Probably there was also not the thing you would have wanted to stay there for a master's.
I mean, it was just for, let's say, a parachute.
For teaching, and I understand. Like, of course, that's the system, but on a deeper level, like you have there a student who is questioning things, researching. I mean, every teacher would be happy to have you as a student, because you can work with that ideas and this tension.
I guess.
And certainly if you challenge him on the concert, but you didn't challenge him in his position during the examination.
Of course not.
Like, it was super safe.
Yeah.
Like, and the idea I get, like, apart from the student relationship, teacher relationship, which let me not touch about that.
That's another story.
But how is it possible that you have this idea of this is the way how you are supposed to play it, and then someone else comes, or your student comes along and plays it differently, and that's enough to end a student-teacher relationship? I mean, that's beyond my comprehension.
I remember that, like, the point where I really understood that, like, the teacher didn't have the level to work with me anymore, because I mean, not only the students are under.
I mean, the level in the sense of you could not give me an answer to the questions I had on that moment.
Because we need, like, other people and young pianists or musicians that study in universities should understand that, like, not only the students are under examination, also the teachers.
Yeah, sure.
Must be under examination, and that's important. You need to prove that you have the level to work with that teacher, but the teacher needs to prove you that he has the level to work with you and to make you better. But
in your case, you have the technical, you master that. I mean, you play Prokofiev and all these difficult stuff that for me, even I haven't played that in conservatory because I came from the early music movement.
Yeah.
But you showed that you could do that. So
I mean,
you were on a level that you. When I did my masters back in the time, was called differently. My teacher Jacques Notmans said, "Now it's up to you."
Yeah.
And he supported me in every direction I would want to go. He challenged me. When it didn't make sense, but he didn't challenge me on the core foundations that I was trying to pursue. No.
Well, challenge is it's extremely important for both sides, because not even the teacher has arrived to an arrival point. It's not like even teachers need to learn, and sometimes students can give them some elements to think about. But if you work with someone that, like, doesn't.
And of course, what you were demanding or asking from your teacher, he wasn't prepared for. He
was not prepared.
There's no embarrassment in this because.
Of course.
Because it comes out of the sky, and this stupid idiot in Belgium who spoiled your taste completely. Like, no one is prepared for that. I can understand that. So. It's.
My family was not prepared for that either. So, like, I guess, like, they're gonna slowly getting familiar with this idea. But the moment where I understood that I should have left Los Angeles, it was like when I had another lesson with my teacher, always on the Schubert sonata, and I wanted to challenge him once more at the lesson and played it not at my speed, but not even at his speed. So I for the lesson I prepared the piece in something that it was in between, so we could like I thought that might have been something that we could have talked about it, a starting
like
point
ground,
for a conversation. And since it was not exactly the way he wanted me to play, he started like talking to me like I feel like I'm useless to you, I'm not teaching you anything, you play in another way, and this is not how you play Schubert, you do things that are not written on the score.
Okay.
And this is not how you play Schubert. And then if you are a teacher and you say something like this, I can still understand, well, maybe you know something that I don't know and you might explain to me. But what he said afterwards, it was clearly that proved to me that I was learning nothing there, because he said, this is not how you play Schubert, but I don't know either.
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah.
I don't know either, because Schubert was like 2 centuries ago, so and no one heard him playing, and no one can possibly know how you play his music. But
I can imagine.
and then he said, this is not how you play, but I do not know how to play that either. So okay, I was okay. I do not know, but you don't know, you do not know either. So what's the point for me in of studying with you any longer? Yeah,
that could have been, and I repeat that could have been the point of departure to finding each other again. And so this wasn't moment of honesty, but anyway, yeah. So you came back to Europe,
yeah,
and now you're here. And so what will the future bring for you? How do you see that?
Well, at the moment I got my bachelor degree in Los Angeles. I'm considering of applying to a master. But I'm trying to find my own way in universities are not everything, so for sure there's so much that I need to learn, and I guess I learn more coming here and then playing on your instruments rather than listening to the teacher saying the same things over and over that are like a part of I guess of the academic knowledge.
Yeah, and I think also these kind of private conversations like we had, not particularly only with me, but I can imagine that's the best learning.
Yeah,
there's no examination, there's no outside pressure.
Yeah,
there is nothing. Well, everything is in the open. I remember where you were in September here, and so we made the agreements of the plans to record Schubert.
Yeah,
you said to me like, when I come, I play it first for you, and then you make your comments, and I say, no way, you take responsibility for what you do. If you have questions, okay. Yeah. So that was like totally.
Yeah.
But it was nice, because then we had this issue with the pedaling. We're not going to talk about that, and then you started to challenge me on that field, and now we have this kind of. It's nice for me too that it gives you sometimes a little bit of hints. And you are totally flexible with that, so I can imagine that this whole beat thing is something that will gonna last a long time for you.
Well, yes, like now it's been now it's been basically 1 year that I train myself, and I got used to playing the metrical reading of the metronome. Of course, that applies also to pieces that you don't have metronome numbers for. I guess, and now it's hard to. I can play still in the mainstream, but when I'm doing that, I feel nothing when I'm doing that.
Okay.
It's like the music says nothing to me. Maybe it might say something to someone else, but for me, playing that stuff in that way.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to hearing more from you now. It's for me the first experience sitting behind the computer, like even ruining one of the most beautiful takes, like pressing on the wrong button. But anyway, and Schubert for me, like, it was a composer, like, we've gone through this, like, I didn't understand him, and of course the tempi you were going to take and have taken in the recordings are like super challenging compared to how people play this. Maybe more of a shock than even Beethoven.
Yeah.
And now suddenly, for me, this is a wonderful experience to have a musician playing on my piano. Okay.
Yeah.
but I'm witnessing something that me or myself, I mean, I would never have played the Wanderer Fantasy with so much of Beethoven to do for Bach. I mean, before I would reach the Wanderer Fantasy, I would have died like 20 years. So discovering all this music, bringing you as a musician on this platform, and there are others that are about to come. This feels like an amazing moment to me as well. I can be honest on that. So it's not Lorenz and I alone
it's
anymore.
not the two of you anymore.
Wolfgang is there already, and he will do a lot of stuff more. It's you. We have Massimiliano, the clarinet player. He's coming on the channel soon. So, and discovering more music, and I think you can agree with this, that the end goal is to show and share and demonstrate the beauty that is shown by doing this. And I mean, we're sitting here, it's Sunday evening tonight, the A major sonata.
Yeah.
The Wanderer Fantasy was like amazing.
Oh yeah.
But the impromptus, probably those are revealing a world that no one thought was possible in Vienna of Beethoven.
Yeah.
This is challenging Beethoven in kind of romanticism.
Totally.
And if you speed it, we will share that the second impromptu, you started a little bit faster. You corrected that. The difference, we were going to make a video on that. The difference is like, that's not even a question of discussion. Like this is a total other world. You can choose for the other world.
And we are talking about 20 beats of metronome per minute,
like
less.
Any teacher would say, okay, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
But it's a total different world, and
Or we saw, for example, in the fugue of the Wanderer, if you are still on the same tempo, but you are maybe like or 2 beats of metronome faster or slower, it changes everything.
Yeah, it was
everything.
It reminded me so much of what Jacques Van Ootmesser said: when you are hitting the right spot, changing a little bit is changing everything.
Everything.
So, and to end this conversation, we will definitely go more in detail and make more specific videos. But I thought it was important to share this story of you, how you faced an opposition, and you had to make the decision: I'm stepping out of this system, going my own way, and I don't care where it leads to. It led to Belgium here first, and and that's important that people can relate to, because I can imagine that a lot of your colleagues are in a similar situation, trapped in a kind of system that forces them to stay where they are.
Yeah,
where they are.
Especially there's no room for experimentation most of the times. Sometimes there is, but it's not this much.
And that's a strange thing, because universities, conservatories should be the place to question everything.
Everything, yeah.
And really, to end this conversation, the best thing about Alberto is that he is a wonderful cook. Sophie, everything Italian, so I need to keep an eye on Sophie. Everything Italian is and Italian food is really the thing. And Anya is free in the evenings.
Oh yeah. So this is the only reason why I'm here recording, I guess. Yeah,
of course. Otherwise, it would be not possible.
Yeah,
and Evelyn was the other day, taking the theme of the Fugue of the Wanderer on her plate, without knowing. So they're totally immersed in Schubert right now. So. No, but it's nice to have you here, and imagine we will be sitting here again in 5 years, what we will be looking at. So let's make a deal that in 5 years we will be sitting here again.
Oh yeah, again,
if we stay healthy and see what we have accomplished back then. Maybe there will be a group of 40 people here,
maybe someone from my old conservatory will join us. Who knows? You never know that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's now take a little bit care of our dog, who is kind of, I don't know, doing what he's doing, but
he's playing with his branch. I don't know.
It's totally. And let's hope tonight he's tired enough to let us make a recording of the A major.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go home and let's record that A major sonata.
Let's go to work.
Okay.
Yeah.